Welcome back. We are now on part 7, Mastering. Purpose of this part is to finalize the loop we made, use multi-band compressor and render it. We need to move some faders this time. Moving volume faders is similar to adjusting gain levels. The difference is, volume faders are directly connected to the master channel. And these faders are taking effect after the effects process, post-effects unlike our gain knobs. I left this action to our last part. After some FX elements, we may need to recreate front and back relations between the instruments. Let's listen to the loop again. While the loop is playing, I detected that some instruments are a bit loud. Enhancer and breaks. I want to decrease the volume of enhancer about 2 dB with this fader. If I move it down with my mouse, it starts decreasing. Also, breaks instrument could be quieter. I will also decrease the volume of breaks about 3 dB with its own fader. As a result, our loudness is partially decreased because of this total 5 dB loss. I see that our piano is not loud enough, so we can increase its volume. It is our main lead instrument, so it can be louder than this. I will increase its volume with its volume fader by moving it upwards with my mouse. Increased about 3 dB, which is enough. I want you to decrease the overall volume of enhancer about 2 dB and breaks about 3 dB. After that, go for piano and increase its volume about 3 dB. You can pause the video. Let's check our loudness meter again to see our overall peaking. Our peaking point is still minus 6 dB. Cool. Well, time for mastering has come. What is mastering? It is basically the final touch and preparing a mix for distribution or rendering. The mastering process is similar to mixing process, but the difference is a mastering engineer works only on the master channel. That means he or she applies some techniques to the whole song. On this part, our goal will be staying loyal to the mix. That means we won't sabotage the moves we did earlier, but we will enhance them. Kick and bass relations is a problematic thing in every mix. Right now, we are not hearing a major bass frequency clash. But what will happen if we turn the overall volume up? If we have even a little muddiness in our sub-bass region, we have to get rid of that. I want to do something tricky this time. Let's adjust this master channel volume fader first. I will move this upwards until I see the maximum value. Then I will move my cursor to this fader. This also serves as a master volume. Let's move this upwards too until we see the maximum value. Okay, I will solo the kick first and then unmute the bass as well. Let's hear them again, but this time we are louder than before. I hear a clash, and also muddiness. It is like they are going to explode when they hit at the same time. What can we do? Let's move on to our master channel. We do have a bass frequency clash and now we are going to solve it. Before taking any action, let's talk about high-end and low-end subject. And here is an information. Human ear can only hear between 20 Hz and 20,000 Hz. So if we don't hear below 20 Hz or above 20,000 Hz, do we need to include those inaudible frequencies in our mix? I will start with low end first. We have a lot of energy in our sub-bass region, and our lowest limit is 20 Hz. Below that is useless for us. Although, we don't have to push our mix to the lowest end, which is 20 Hz. This bass clash is triggered in our very low bass frequency regions, and we need to determine the lowest end of our mix. That means how much bass we want to express to the audience. It is like taking a photograph of a large view, but trimming the borders to make it a bit smaller. So we will trim our whole mix, and we won't express the useless bass information to the audience. Let's open an equalizer on our master channel's FX slot 1. I want you to open an equalizer on master channel's FX slot 1. You can pause the video. In this low-end case, I need to go for a high-pass filter. With this filter, higher frequencies will be saved while lower ones get cut. I will turn band 1 into a high-pass filter. My curve order will be gentle 8. And I will reset my width like this. So, where to put this filter? I have to hear our kick and bass to find a sweet spot. Let's hear them again to find it. Alright, my sweet spot is 25 Hz. But why? It solved our bass clash problem in the first place. And hip-hop is a bass-heavy genre. So we don't want to cut out all of the energy from the whole track. Also, in earlier stages of the mix, we wanted to hear a strong low bass. 30 Hz, 40 Hz, 45 Hz, these are very powerful sub-bass frequencies. Yes, we may trim some 30, 40, 50 Hz during the process, but that power is still there. The reason I'm going for gentle 8 curve order is the steady slope of it. It cuts good and keeps neighbor frequencies safe as well. I want you to set your low end. Turn band 1 into a high-pass filter. Reset its width. Set curve order to gentle 8. Sweet spot is 25 Hz. You can pause the video while doing this. Let's follow this up with high end. We need to activate other instruments as well to hear very high-pitched sounds. No need to click on every single insert channel to activate them. If I right-click on, for example, our kick twice, all insert channels will be unmuted. Also, let's reset the overall loudness. I will move my cursor to Master Channel Fader here. Right-click on it and select Reset. And this fader too. Let's reset that. But before any cutting, do we need this filter? Let's listen to our loop again. Well, the loop sounds good, but I hear some very high frequencies. Overall brightness of the song is good, but we need a slight cut this time. So I will go to Master Channel again to open our equalizer. I will turn this band 7 into a low-pass filter. My curve order is gentle 8 again. And let's reset the width. I will press the play button and start tweaking the frequency knob. Okay, 18,115 Hz is my sweet spot. I want you to set your high end. Turn band 7 into a low pass filter. Reset its width. Set curve order to gentle 8. Sweet spot is 18,115 Hz. You can pause the video while doing this. High end and low end is done. What else do we need? Well, we are peaking at -6 dB right now. So that means we need to boost the volume of the whole loop. But with what? Right here we have two options. We can aggressively compress this loop and kill all the dynamic range while making it louder. We can transparently compress this loop and save the dynamic range while making it louder. Both options contain compression. Compressing a song isn't a must, but a slight control can be applied. Therefore, we will apply slight compressions with a multi-band compressor. I will move my cursor to Master Channel to select it. And open a fruity multi-band compressor on our FX slot too. I want you to open a fruity multi-band compressor on your Master Channel's FX slot too. You can pause the video while doing this. Before talking about a multi-band compressor, let's start with a single-band compressor. What is compression? A compressor is a dynamic processor which makes quieter signals to sound loud while lessening the louder signals. As a result, signal levels become even or similar. But compressors are kind of destructive when it comes to dynamic range. Dynamic range is the difference between the quiet and the loud parts of a song. So if we apply heavy, aggressive compression to a song, we will simply start to lose dynamic range. If there won't be a difference between the loud and the quiet parts in a song, that song will sound constantly loud. Here's the thing though, if there is no quietness, then there won't be loudness. Multiband compressor has just one different thing than a usual compressor. It can split a song into several frequency bands and apply compression to each band separately. What are we going to do next? We will split our loop into 3 different frequency bands and apply compression slightly. Let's split it first. I will move my cursor on this bar here. It says speed. Let's slide this bar to the left end. These different colored boxes are frequency bands. This one is low band, this one is mid band, and this one is high band. I will start with low band. We need to determine the bandwidth first before compression. This knob here is low band frequency knob. If I turn this, low band moves. And if we check the top left corner of FL Studio 12, it shows us a value. Let's turn the knob until we reach 152 Hz. Alright, so this low band only applies compression between 20 Hz and 152 Hz. I want you to slide the speed bar to the left end. Turn the low band frequency knob until you reach 152 Hz. You can pause the video while doing this. Let's start compressing and boosting the low band first. And we will do it in isolation. To isolate the low band, we need to mute other bands with this M button. Like this. Right now we only hear our low band. First, we need to set a threshold for our compressor. This is our low band's threshold knob. Threshold is like a detector and operates with decibels. If we reach to that detector and pass beyond it, our signal will start decreasing. Decreasing by what? This knob here is low band's ratio. Ratio determines the decrease value. If I set the default ratio, which is 1.0 to 1, this means if we pass the threshold by 1 dB, compressor will reduce the output signal to 1 dB. And also that means no compression. But if I set the ratio to 3.0 to 1, this means if we pass the threshold by 3 dB, compressor will reduce the output signal to 1 dB. So in this case, we lost 2 dB from the signal and the total compression amount is 2 dB. We need to set the threshold properly. Our input meter shows us the input signal strength. The meter is here. If I press play and watch the meter, I can see that our highest peak is around minus 13 dB. So if I set my threshold to, for example, minus 3 dB, which exceeds our highest peak, then there will be no compression again. Also, if I set my threshold to a really low value like minus 40 dB, then there will be a lot of compression. This threshold and ratio determination depends on the input signal strength, so we need to check our input meter every time. This knob here is attack time of our low band. Attack function operates with milliseconds. A millisecond is a thousandth of a second, so they operate really fast. If we exceed the threshold, our compressor will start decreasing the signal. But how fast? Attack time determines this. If I set this attack knob to 30.0 ms, our signal will be decreased over 30.0 milliseconds. This knob here is release time of our low band. Release function operates with milliseconds as well. If we exceed the threshold, our compressor will start decreasing the signal. But for how long? Release time determines this. If I set this release knob to 500.0 ms, our signal will be restored over 500.0 milliseconds. We are working on a bass-heavy band right now. That means we need to know about the dynamic behaviors of low-frequency waves. Low frequencies have longer periods. It means a low-frequency waveform develops slower over time in comparison to high frequencies. This information will determine the attack time and release time settings, as well as our ears. Due to this information, if we apply fast compression to our bass-heavy low band, we will lose a lot of contour, impact or punch. Fast but relative to what? Relative to higher frequencies. Let's get started with compression. I'm checking my input meter again. I see that low band is peaking around minus 13 dB. We do want to apply a slight control over the band, so my threshold won't be too low. By just looking, I decided to set my threshold to minus 20 dB. There is no compression right now because I didn't set my ratio yet. But if I increase the ratio and turn this knob upwards, I can see the compression meter is moving. Right here. Now we applied some compression. Let's make the ratio 2.0 to 1. In this case, if we exceed the threshold by 2 dB, our output will be decreased by 1 dB. We don't have to calculate the output signal strength, because if we simply click on this in button, it will turn into an out button that monitors the output. So our new peak is around minus 16 dB. We lost 3 dB during the process. I want you to mute mid and high band first. Set low band threshold to minus 20 dB. Then set the ratio to 2.0 to 1. You can pause the video while doing this. Main characteristics of a compressor comes from its attack and release times. Our low band compressor is now operating with default attack and release time settings. So it may not be the best setup for our material. To hear the compression well, I want to increase the volume. This knob is called makeup gain. Every successful compression results in some loss of gain. This makeup gain knob is there to restore the signal strength. And also it will boost the compressed result, so this gain function is not like the ones we saw before. I will turn this gain knob until I see 10 dB of gain. Let's test this compression. I will set my ratio to 1.0 to 1 again. So I deactivated the compression process for now. Then I will press play again to hear the difference. Without compression, it sounds louder. Also, I can feel the punchy effect of our kick, which is a good thing. Let's set the ratio to 2.0 to 1 again. Well, we applied a slight reduction and control. But I guess we are controlling the kick's punchy impact a bit. To let the kick develop its punchiness, we need to tweak the attack knob. I will repeat this information. Low frequencies have longer periods. It means a low frequency waveform develops slower over time in comparison to high frequencies. I used punch word several times during the series. This word refers to a specific frequency region and feeling. Between 100 Hz and 200 Hz is referred as punch. Our kick's most dominant bass peak was 127 Hz, so we do have that punch. On the other hand, our sub bass is rolling around 40 Hz to 80 Hz. Here's the thing. Sub bass is lower than our kick, or the kick is higher than sub bass by spectral means. If low frequency waveforms develop slower over time in comparison to high frequencies, then our sub bass will develop itself slower than the kick. That also means kick's relatively high-pitched punchy hits will develop themselves faster than sub bass. In this case, our low band attack time needs to be slow, or slower than other two bands, which are mid band and high band. If we set the attack time fast, then we will simply kill the punchiness. I will move my cursor on this attack time knob. It is 10.0 ms right now, which is fast enough. Let's hear the loop again. Turn this attack knob and make a decision with our ears. .0 ms attack time is good. Not too fast, not too slow. I want you to adjust the makeup gain knob by 10 dB. Set your attack time to 50.0 ms. You can pause the video. The second thing is the release time. This knob will restore our reduced gain with the speed. With it, we can add a character to compression. But if we set the release time too slow, then the signal won't be able to restore itself on each hit. So the result will be constant compression. I will play the loop again and tweak the release knob. Good. My release time is 500.0 ms. Why this number? I can see the compression effect by checking this meter here, which is the compression meter. Determine this value by considering the hits of the beat, also the global speed of the loop, which is 90 bpm. I want you to set the release time to 500.0 ms. Don't forget to pause the video. Let's check the spectrum analyzer while playing the loop. Our highest peak is minus 10 dB. I feel like we can adjust the makeup gain knob a bit more. Let's do that, but remember, we can cause clipping distortion if we exceed 0 dB. My new makeup gain value is now 14 dB and our highest peak is minus 5 dB, which is loud enough for the genre. Also, my multi-band compressor's low band out meter shows our recent peak as well. It rolls around minus 1.5 dB. I want you to adjust the makeup gain and set it to 14 dB. You can pause the video. Well, our low band sounds good and I don't hear any kind of distortion, crackle or hiss. It sounds powerful enough as well. Let's move on to midband. I will click on this A button to activate our midband. We need to determine the bandwidth first. This knob adjusts the lower frequency of midband. I will set it to 180 Hz. And this knob adjusts the higher frequency of midband. I will set it to 4000 Hz. Let's mute low band with this M button for now to hear midband in isolation. We are now hearing only midband. I want you to set lower frequency of midband to 180 Hz. Then set higher frequency of midband to 4000 Hz. You can pause the video. So, this band contains higher frequencies than our low band. That means we can apply faster attack and release time settings to tame sharp edges. Or simply, transients. Transients are short-length peaks caused by instruments. They act like sonic spikes. If we detect some sharpness, then we need to take control over them. I can see that our input meter here monitors the incoming signals as well. The highest peak on this band is around -10 dB. First, I will adjust the gain a bit, like 3 dB. After that, to hear the changes, I will set the initial ratio to 1.0 to 1, which means no compression. Then I will set a threshold again. Let's say -25 dB. And I will tweak the ratio knob again by using my ears. The ratio of band is now 10.2 to 1. This is a heavy compression and we don't want to squash the mix with this setting. Let's turn the ratio knob all the way down again and restart the process. We need to hear the transients first. Alright, I don't like the way our enhancer sounds. Also, our snap is overly dominant. I will set the ratio slowly to hear the changes. (1.5 to 1) is a decent setting. It tames the transients of enhancer and snap a bit. I want you to adjust the makeup gain knob of midband and set it to 3 dB. After that, set your threshold to -25 dB. Ratio is 1.5 to 1. Don't forget to pause the video. What about the characteristics? Let's follow up with attack time. If I set attack time 0.1 ms, I can hear some crackles and distortions. So if I turn the release knob all the way down, it produces distortion even more. So I will reset the release setting first by right-clicking on the knob and then select reset. After, tweak this attack knob slowly to find the ideal setting. Okay, my new attack time is 14.0 ms. And my release time is 180.0 ms. I also checked the mid-band's compression meter as well to see the compression effect here. Let's check the spectrum analyzer to see our peaks. Our highest peak is around minus 20 dB right now. I feel like we can boost it further, but I will do this while considering the relations between the low band and the mid band. So going to click on this A button again to activate the low band. Then slowly tweak the makeup gain knob to reach the ideal loudness. Makeup gain is now 5.5 dB. Also, we are not going beyond 0 dB. We can check that by looking at the master meter. I want you to set the attack time 14.0 ms. Release time 180.0 ms. Makeup gain to 5.5 dB. You can pause the video. Let's move to high band. I will open multi-band compressor again. This knob here is low frequency knob of high band. I will set it to 4523 Hz. Now, whole mix is covered with bands. High frequencies are developed really fast over time. So this band will be a transient heaven. Let's listen to it in solo mode. Our input meter reads minus 14.5 dB as the highest peak. Threshold must be lower than this value. But beware though, if you apply heavy compression on a high frequency band, your project will sound cloudy or without brightness. I will set this up relatively quick. My threshold is minus 18 dB. Ratio is 1.5 to 1, which is slight. My attack time needs to be fast enough to catch the swift high frequency transients. 8.0 ms is good. And release is 50.0 ms. Before adjusting the gain knob, I want to activate the other two bands as well. Good. My makeup gain value is 6 dB. I don't want to turn up the gain a lot because the loop may sound harsh. I want you to copy these settings to your project. Threshold is minus 18 dB. Ratio is 1.5 to 1. Attack time is 8.0 ms. Release time is 50.0 ms. Makeup gain is 5.5 dB. You can pause the video. It is done. Let's check the loudness meter on the master channel. Well, our limit is 0 dB and still we are not exceeding this value. But we are staying really close to it. Besides, I can't feel the clarity and brightness of the song. Bass sounds decent. I won't go for bass anymore. In this case, we can apply boost around mid-range. Also, we can add more brightness, presence and clarity. Let's check the spectrum analyzer first. Beyond 6000 Hz needs to be louder, in my opinion. Ideally, in mastering process, boosting equalizers should be post-compressor. We can also say pre-limiter. A typical mastering FX signal chain goes like this. 1. Cutting equalizer. 2. Compressor. 3. Boosting equalizer. 4. Maximizer or limiter. If we boost a lot, we may clip our sound. To prevent this, we can put a fruity limiter on the FX slot 4. Why 4th slot? 3rd one is already empty. Due to the FX signal chain, 3rd slot will be occupied by a boosting equalizer. Let's open an equalizer on 3rd FX slot. I want you to open an equalizer on FX slot 3 and fruity limiter on FX slot 4. You can pause the video. Before boosting some frequencies, I want to click on this limiter. This module helps us to reach 0 dB. But if we exceed 0 dB, limiter will limit the signal and reduce it greatly. With this property, limiter module will protect our audio from clipping. This knob here is ceiling. It is set to 0 dB right now. Our signals won't exceed the 0 dB value thanks to the limiter. We won't inspect the limiter module deeper in this series. It serves our purpose well right now. The only thing left is operating with our boosting equalizer. First, let's check our spectrum analyzer again. We can boost around 250 Hz to recover some enhancer hits. Around 2500 Hz can be boosted to recover snap hits. Between 600 and 1500 Hz can be boosted to recover piano. Also, we can put a high shelf curve on 7000 Hz to add global brightness. I will open the equalizer on our FX slot 3. Let's start boosting. I will use band 2 first. My frequency is 2050 Hz. But the width is narrow this time, which is 15%. Because I don't want to affect sub-bass region with this boost. And boosting will be 8 dB. I want you to use band 2. Boost 250 Hz about 8 dB. Set the width to 15%. You can pause the video. We can bring piano out a little bit. I will use band 5. Our sweet spot is 1300 Hz. My width should be 25%. And apply the boost about 5 dB. I want you to use band 5. Boost 1300 Hz about 5 dB. Set the width to 25%. You can pause the video. The last thing I want to do is add more brightness. I will use band 7 this time. And it is a high shelf equalizer by default. Let's put this one to 4483 Hz and boost it about 4 dB. Width of it is 100%. I want you to use band 7. Boost 4483 Hz about 4 dB. Set the width to 100%. You can pause the video. My ears say, this sounds good enough. So I won't tweak knobs from now on. Good job. The loop is ready for rendering process. But it is basically a loop. So if we render the loop like this, it will only make one cycle and then stop playing. I want to show this section of FL Studio 12. This button here opens playlist. If I click on it, a new page shows up. Let's double click on here to expand the page. We composed the whole loop only in a single pattern, which is right here. It says pattern 1. That means we are now playing pattern 1 in pattern mode. Let's change the playback mode to song mode first. If we simply click on this button, it stops glowing and that means song mode is on. Now while pattern 1 is selected, we can create a song traffic here with our left mouse clicks. Well, we are in song mode right now and let's start play button again to see what happens this time. The green column here is our playback engine. It follows the composition with the speed, the BPM speed, which is 90 right now. I have 8 pattern 1 boxes here, which is enough for me to demonstrate the rendering process. I want you to open playlist. Activate the song mode. Make sure you selected pattern 1. And click on playlist to place your pattern 1 loop 8 times. You can pause the video while doing this. Let's render it. I will move my cursor to top left corner again to click on File. After that, we'll go for Export and then MP3 file. You can simply select an output folder, a destination directory for this MP3 file. Then this box will show up. This is the rendering menu of FL Studio 12. Make sure that your mode is set to full song. And your extension needs to be MP3. Bitrate is important too. Always go for the highest value. So if you press start, it will start converting the loop into an MP3 file. If you press background rendering, it will start converting again, but save CPU as well during the rendering process. I will simply go for start button. If you hear the sound, that means your rendering is finished. Good job again. While we covered lots of things during the series, the only performance task I want to give you is as follows. Create your own loops, apply the things you learned during the series. If you come up with a loop or even a song which is made by you, feel free to send us, and we will share them on our YouTube channel if you give us permission for this. We will talk more about technical, artistic, and problematic things in our future series. If you like what you watch, please hit the thumbs up button and leave us a comment. If you want to learn more with us, hit the subscribe button below the video. Thanks for watching this tutorial. Bye bye for now.